I think for not only myself, but for a lot of bereavement survivors, one of our biggest problems was the lack of consultation. We've always been very proud of our way to be able to dialogue with people post fire and be able to come to consensus together. And I think what really hurt not only myself but a lot of bereavement survivors was genuinely just the lack of consultation, the being able to have a true conversation about what should happen with the tower. You know, the Memorial Commission has been created, and from what we've understood, there was no real communication with them, and no real communication with us about whether or not this was the correct thing to do.
Did you get any indication, Tiago, on why now and what they want to happen?
Unfortunately, there was no real communication given to us about why or how or why now. But you know, if there was some engineering problems, because obviously the building is unsafe, we completely understand that. But there was no conversation saying this is what's happening. The decision needs to be made right away. It was just thrust upon us and said, "This is what's going to happen, and that is it."
Is there a divided opinion about what should happen? I mean, is it very much unanimous amongst survivors that it should remain?
Um, I would like to say that it's not necessarily unanimous. There are differing opinions, and those differing opinions will continue because obviously it's something that brings a lot of hurt to very many people. You know, there are people who believe that the tower should remain standing until justice is served. There are people who believe that the tower in its current form is a pain and a sore. And, you know, at the end of the day, if by having conversation is when you really truly get the answers about how people feel. But without that conversation, then it just becomes a very, a shot in the dark. And we've always tried to maintain that, um, you know, moving forward, uh, having these conversations with us is the best way to go and best way to move forward. So, this announcement coming without any consultation is what the problem has been.
I know that in the weeks and days after the fire, there was real concern about whether or not the building would stay standing, and there was a huge number of surveys done on the ground and a lot of work and monitoring done since. Had you and the community been led to understand that there were any concerns? What is the status, as you understand it, of the tower as it is now?
We've not been updated on whether the tower is more unsafe than it has been for the past 7 years. So, in a way, this is all come as a complete as news to us. If the conversation was, there are engineering concerns that the tower could come down, and this needed to be a decision made, that was not communicated with us.
In terms of how it makes you feel personally, Tiago, if you don't mind addressing it, I mean, when you see the tower, what are the thoughts that go through your mind?
Well, for me, the tower, obviously it was a place of great pain, not only for myself, but to friends, families in the local area. But for me, it's always been a place where I can almost, where I feel at peace, where I can introspect. So I've always seen that as, the memorials around the tower are really lovely. And for me, having that opportunity to go to the base of the tower and sometimes think about how my own mental health has been affected in the past few years, but also be able to kind of deal with my emotions. For me, it's been, it was a place of great pain, and now it's a place of great peace. And I know that there are very many other bereavement survivors who feel the same. And by removing the tower from where it currently stands, for a lot of people, will remove that place of peace. Again, I do want to make clear that at the end of the day, this is my own opinion, and that there are going to be many survivors who completely disagree with me. But the one thing that we would always have between bereaved survivors and the local community around this is that dialogue is what is important. So, by having these differing opinions, only through communication that we are able, it's the only way that we will actually be able to get anywhere.
And I think that was really powerful there, where you described having the tower as a place that, of course, formerly your home, then a source of great pain, but now somewhere where you can go and reflect. What do you personally want to see out of the next phase? Because I think it's been known from the start that at some point there would be something more permanent of a memorial. I know there are consultations. What does that space need to have for you?
Well, in terms of what it needs to have, I don't, from my perspective, I think that's something that the bereaved families should have more of a say in. For me, as long as it's a place where I'm able to sit down, reflect, but also, be able to interact with people from the local community, I think that's, to me, is the most important. What that looks like is up to the Memorial Commission. And so hopefully moving forward, it's about being able to have a consensus together. Not everyone's going to be happy with the exact things that will be happening in the memorial. And I personally don't have any real opinions about how and what should be there, as long as it's a place where I can feel like I can go and remember the people who unfortunately are no longer with us, but also reflect on, I was very fortunate to leave that tower that night, and there is always still going to be a lot of survivor's guilt, and it's a way for me to be able to go there and introspect, and hopefully people have the ability to really go there and re-experience some of the pain that sometimes I feel like I feel post fire. So yeah, I don't really have any particular, this is what I would like to see in the memorial. And I think that there are quite a lot of bereaved families, survivors, and local community who have much stronger opinions about what should really go on in this memorial, however it looks. But I think it's only through the guidance of bereaved survivors and the local community that we will actually get anywhere.
Tiago, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.